We heard about we heard local directors and their advocates. And we really going to get that kind of doing that service. We're not going to get the right somebody to do it. Either who they are, anyway, anybody. And I'm going to make it now. And that's what I'm going to do. You can stay here at and take it.
Lou, I'm trying to promote you to panelist. Hello, everyone. It's 7:08. This is Rosalie Preston, and I will call as the former vice chair of the Planning and Land Use Committee, I'll call the meeting to order at 7:08 p.m. And I'll do the roll call. Salim Mahansi.
Here.
Harvey Powell.
Here.
Rosalie Preston, present. See, Janisha Robinson is not here yet. Rebecca Rodriguez is getting ready to join us. Nancy Torres.
Here.
Let's see, it looks like Dave Trejo is here. Okay, Dave Trejo.
Present.
Louetta Watts.
Here.
Okay, we do. So moving on to item number 2, appointment of committee officers. This is our first Planning and Land Use Committee meeting of the new term. So I will nominate myself for chair. Is there anyone else who's interested in being the chair? Okay, is there a motion and a second to appoint Rosalie Preston as the chair?
I appoint Rosalie to be chair. Motion of the Planning and Land Use Committee.
Second.
Okay, and we'll do the roll call vote. Salim Mahansi? Yes, yes or no?
Yes.
Harvey Powell?
Yes. Yes.
Rosalie Preston, yes. Nancy Torres?
Yes.
Dave Trejo?
Yes.
Louetta Watson?
No.
Okay, motion passes. Is there a person interested in being vice chair of the committee? Okay, we'll pass over the vice chair at this time. And is there someone who's willing to be the secretary of the committee? nominate Nancy Torres. Or I make a motion to appoint Nancy Torres if she's willing.
I'm willing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
Okay, so on the motion to appoint Nancy Torres as secretary, we'll have our vote. Salim Mahanzi,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
yes.
Rosalie Preston, yes. Nancy Torres,
Yes.
Dave Trejo,
Yes.
Louetta Watson.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on to item number 3, general public comment on non-agenda items that are within the neighborhood council subject matter jurisdiction. Each speaker will be allowed 2 minutes. I don't see anyone present from our stakeholders raising their hand. Okay, I see that Janisha Robinson has logged on. Okay, item number 4, approval of the minutes from the July 1st committee meeting. Yes, Lou, did you have a question?
I move that the July 1st, 2025 minutes are approved as written.
Is there a second?
Harvey, second,
Okay, the roll call. Salim Mahanzi,
Yes.
Harvey Powell,
yes.
Rosalie Preston, yes. Janisha Robinson,
Here.
Nancy Torres,
Yes.
Dave Trejo, okay.
I
Louetta
think I
Watson,
see Dave have his hand up.
yes, yes. And Louetta Watson,
Yes.
motion passes. So item number 5 on our agenda is the comment letter on 700 West 120th Street Apartments, the 50 units with no parking. Let me work on screen sharing. Okay, can everyone see? See Dave, let's see.
Yes.
Okay,
Hi, Rosalie. I think I got like demoted or something because I can't unmute myself.
okay.
That's why I couldn't vote.
Okay, I'll try to. Well, you're unmuted now, so I'll just leave you there while we discuss the letter and then. Okay, so ultimately, this letter is being written so that it can be submitted to the court filing. The residents who are impacted, particularly impacted in our Harbor Gateway North District 5, near 120th Street and Hoover. The Athens Boulevard Block Club has raised funds to file a case in Superior Court, and that will be heard on August the 11th. But we are addressing it to the Department of City Planning and then copying Mayor Bass, her representative for our area, Jocelyn Dominguez, our council member, Tim McCosker, his planning director, Pamela Thornton, our field deputy, Rudy Martinez, and the two attorneys working on the case, and hopefully we'll know maybe which judge to also copy. Okay, Lou, did you want to say something at this point, or?
Yes, could you enlarge the font, please?
Okay, let's see.
Is this project for senior citizens?
Where does it say that?
In the first paragraph, or second paragraph, she says that she learned about it. Oh, okay, only learned from this project one on behalf of the senior city planner. Okay, sorry. I thought it was a senior.
Oh, okay, right. So with this letter, we're also pointing out issues with the way we're notified now about ED1 projects. When Mayor Bass first issued her directive to help create more housing in the city to address the housing crisis, the ED1 projects did appear on the early notification from the Department of City Planning that neighborhood councils receive, or anyone who's
Hello, you dropped off, Rosalie. Can you hear
I
you?
know. Oh, me?
What you doing?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, communicate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm still trying to unmute
Oh, that
Dave
went off.
Trejo. Maybe if I make him a co-host, okay. Hmm. Yeah, Dave is still listed in as a,
You look at both, you go outside and wash your trash can out. Wash your trash can. Why is it outside?
Yeah, I'm able to mute and unmute myself now, Rosalie.
okay, okay. So the purpose of the letter also is to point out the issues with notification to neighborhood councils as, so there's a way that people can receive the early notification from the Department of City Planning, which comes out almost every week or every other week. It's usually for a 2-week period. And I have to figure out how to send out or send the new committee members the way to sign up for that. I know that Lou, Arvie, and I do receive those. And they're arranged by order of neighborhood councils alphabetically. So in the beginning of the ED1 projects, they were listed there. So at least you're aware that they've made their application to the Department of City Planning. And they list a contact person and a telephone. So you can invite those people to a neighborhood council meeting. But after the first year, we stopped receiving those notifications, and then we only learn about them when the city planner issues the letter of compliance, they're called. And so we received the email as the official neighborhood council to our neighborhood council email. And I informed the District 5 people about it. And then a little later, we received the notice of demolition for the property. So the neighborhood has been working on the issue. So let me just go over what we have. So it's addressed to the head of Department of City Planning, Vince Bertoni. We're hoping to hold we have to somehow hold a special board meeting, hopefully next Tuesday, but maybe Monday. If we can, we've got to get 9 people there to approve this comment letter, and then it can be submitted to everyone before that August 11th court hearing. So the neighborhood council votes to submit this comment letter on the proposal for a 50-unit, including 39 units for low-income household occupancy and 10 units for moderate income households occupancy and 1 market rate manager's unit. The building will be 4-story, 43 foot and 6 inches tall with no off-street parking or bicycle parking on a lot zoned RD2-1XL, which the city refers to as low, medium 2 density residential, that normally would have a 30-foot height limit at 700 West 120th Street. So just for those who don't live in the neighborhood, the house is a single-family home that was sold to the developer. And then the developer who later we found had completed a similar large project in the Larchmont area. And, he's done others around, or that company's done others around the city, is proposing this project. We did invite him to our first meeting on the subject, and he did not respond. So the city has approved the project as ministerial under Executive Directive 1, ED1, avoiding public hearings and CEQA review. No notice was provided to the surrounding community, and there was no opportunity for the community and neighborhood council to meet with the developer to provide feedback and possible improvements to the project in relation to its site next to an R1 zone neighborhood and low-scale apartment building to the west of the project site, and low-scale duplexes on the north side of 120th Street. We also wish to note that the Harbor Gateway North Planning and Land Use Committee reached out to the applicant representative via email on January 6th, requesting that he attend the January 30th Planning and Land Use Committee meeting to review the design, landscaping, construction timeline, and parking issues related to the project. Not provide, because, maybe I should say, because it's not providing any parking spaces, but he never responded. The Harbor Gateway North Neighborhood Council area is a mostly residential community that supports the creation of additional housing, including affordable housing within our boundaries. However, we believe that such housing can be built in a thoughtful manner that does not create undesirable impacts to the surrounding neighborhood and without being incompatible with existing structures in height, FAR, which is floor area ratio, and it means how much of the lot is taken up by the building, and design. The following are our major concerns with this project, which we would have liked to discuss with the applicant to help moderate the impact of this project. So the first one is the lack of any open space provided within the project is one of our major concerns. The Harbor Gateway North area has long been an area with a noted lack of open space. Both our current outdated Harbor Gateway Community Plan, and I quote from issue page 4, lack of open space and recreation areas in new apartment projects, and the proposed updated Harbor Gateway Community Plan, LU, which is Land Use Goal 18.20, configure buildings around interior courtyards, outdoor passages, paseos, and arcades that can be seamlessly integrated with the public realm and open spaces that will be scheduled for review before the City Council's Plum Committee in the coming months. I think I need a comment there. State the need for the creation of open space. Number 2, the lack of any provided parking spaces on site, which will create an adverse impact to the surrounding community. Even though the nearby Vermont Avenue and Metro C line stop are within walking distance of this project, it seems likely that a number of residents will own vehicles which will end up being parked on the residential streets to the south and north of the project. Already in many areas of our neighborhood council, residents living near multifamily housing, even those that provide parking spaces, find an increased number of vehicles being parked on streets some blocks from that housing. Even after many years of progress in developing the metro system and improving bus transportation, the reality is that the city of Los Angeles does not have an adequate public transportation system, and this forces even lower income residents to rely on private vehicles for transportation for work, shopping, and recreation. The lack of adequate parking and multifamily housing creates parking issues within residential neighborhoods and a lot of conflict, which we hear about at many of our neighborhood council meetings. We often see double parking on residential streets and parking in the medians of major streets as a result of the state laws allowing for reduced parking spaces in apartment buildings and for ADUs. Residents often keep their black, blue, and green bins at the curb to preserve a parking space for their family or place cones or other obstructions for others trying to park in front of their homes. Number 3, the lack of any bicycle parking spaces within the project. For those residents who will solely rely on nearby public transportation, many will need a bicycle to take on the bus or metro, so that on reaching the end of their bus or train ride, they can more easily reach their final destination. Without bicycle parking, they will have to store the bicycle in their apartment. 4, incompatibility with the surrounding community to the south and north. The current zoning allows for a 30-foot height, whereas the project will be 43 feet and 6 inches. The height will impact the privacy of the homes to the south and the existing 2-story apartment building to the west. 5, the letter of compliance states that the project does not involve a contributing structure in a designated historic preservation overlay zone or on the City of Los Angeles list of historical cultural monuments. However, the project is located on the northern edge of the Athens on the Hill community, which is currently under active consideration for historic designation. And a council file is referenced. 6, we also note our concern that provisions of AB 686 are being violated. Specifically, the approval of this project is a failure to affirmatively further fair housing by concentrating low-income units in a historically Black neighborhood without analysis. In conclusion, this is a project that if we had been able to review and provide input on before the administrative approval by the Department of City Planning, we would not have supported as presented for the reasons listed above, and therefore we support the efforts of the Athens Boulevard Block Club to challenge the approval via a lawsuit on the basis of failure to evaluate the environmental impacts per CEQA, improper waivers for setbacks, density, and open space per the LA Municipal Code 12.22 and zoning laws, due process and transparency violations per the Constitution of the State of California, and failure to affirmatively further fair housing by concentrating low-income units in a historically Black neighborhood without analysis per AB 686. We would also like to note that when the case number is typed into the Department of City Planning website, the case is not found, and therefore the application documents and letter of compliance cannot be found, so that we cannot review details of the proposal as submitted. So, let's see. So Dave, are you trying to make a comment or?
Oh, no, sorry, I guess my hand never went down from that
Oh, okay.
original one. I do think it is bonkers that it's legal and it seems like it will only be legal in historically disenfranchised and marginalized communities to take a single family house, sell it, and even if a large family is 6 to 8 moved in, that'd be an impact of maybe 4 to 5 additional vehicles. To have 50 units that conservatively would have 2 vehicles apiece and add 100 vehicles to the area plus the 13 feet above the status quo of the height seems bonkers without public review. Like ED1 in general seems problematic.
Yes, well, many across the city have been very concerned about the impact of state laws and then the ED1 directive and the unintended impacts that people were not aware of. Lou, did you have a comment?
Yes, I have some inserts, recommendations and inclusions.
Okay,
Now the time, or is it after you offer for a motion, or should we work on it now?
no, work on it now.
All right then. Okay, number one, please number the pages.
Right, okay.
All right. My second inclusion is paragraph 2, line 4. The end of the line where it says November 14th includes the year 2024.
Okay,
All righty. Page 2. Second paragraph. Last line of that paragraph. The paragraph begins coming month. Strike the word state and insert the word recommends with an S.
oh, okay, recommend.
Page 3. Okay. This is kind of long. I'm going to read it. At the end, top of the page, third line down. At the end of the sentence that ends with McOsker, insert the following. In addition, the Los Angeles Historic Resources Survey, parentheses, Survey LA, item P, chapter 6, page 72 of the community plan update, applies the status of conservation district to Athens on the Hill, period.
Okay, can you email that to me?
I will.
Okay, and you're referring to the Harbor Gateway Community Plan update, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
Thank you.
okay, thank you. So does anyone else have any other comments? I see that some of the Athens on the Hill people are here. And I see that Rebecca Rodriguez has joined us, so.
Rosalie,
Yes,
okay, will you email me or the committee the email addresses of our committee members so that when I send this email to you, I want all of them to have it as well. Do you have their email addresses as yet, our committee members?
well, I can, if you send it to me, I will forward, so.
I also want their email addresses as well as a committee member.
Okay, we'll talk about this offline, so.
Thank you.
Yes, Alex, you had a
Yeah.
comment, Alex?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I just send you a screenshot or, I guess in regards to the letter, when I sent my letter, I made a reference to the third amendment of the ED1 letter. um, from Karen Betts herself. In essence, the project doesn't even comply with that third revision, in that it states blah blah blah, and improve the design, landscaping, and open spaces of new affordable housing.
Yes, please send that, and I'll try to find that third revision online to incorporate into the letter.
Okay, but yeah, I'll send you. I can put in the chat here, right? But I can also email it to you.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll.
so, yeah, and then that can be another citation under the open space or.
Yeah, and it's a direct
Design.
reference to the ED1 program itself. So, and again, it's doesn't even comply with it. But yeah, I'll let me send it to you in a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Also, we'll add the planner who signed off on, well, the planner I referred to, Connie Chaub. I think we should send her a copy. And I'll make sure she was the one whose name was on that letter too. Okay, if there's no other additions, is there a motion to approve the letter as corrected and amended?
I motion that the letter for the for the 120th Street apartment, I'm trying to read the dash number, approved as corrected and amended. Lou, have a question?
I second the motion.
Okay, so we'll do a a roll call vote. Salim Mahounsi,
Yes, approved.
Harvey Powell,
Yes.
Rosalie Preston, yes. Janisha Robinson. Is Janisha still here?
Yes.
Rebecca Rodriguez,
Yes.
Nancy Torres,
Yes.
Dave Trejo.
Yeah.
Luetta Watson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes and we'll try to get a vote of our board so it can be finalized. Item number 6 on our agenda is another letter on another large, even larger apartment proposal, which is the one at 11516 South Vermont Avenue. That's 18 affordable units, 85 parking spaces, which 65 are for the residents and 20 for guests. And the applicant, even though at the one meeting he attended, told us that the residents would rely on using bicycles to get around, he's actually asking for no bicycle parking at all.
Screw that off and screw that blue thing on.
So let's just go over this letter, although now I'm in touch with the current planner for this project, and she emailed the other day that the applicant still has not submitted the final documents that they've been asking for. So I don't think we need to finalize this letter at this meeting. But we should just kind of go over the status and see maybe where we need to improve. Lou?
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that. Thank you.
Rosalie, what's the timeline do they have that to submit that letter? How long will the city planner let them, have until if they don't submit it within so many days, then
Well,
Then they-
yeah, at this point, it's been weeks. So, I mean, from our standpoint, that's good because once it's submitted, the city planning still has to review it and come up with a report. So, the more time we have to come up with our comments and, base it on, as the planning deputy for Council District 8 suggested, tying it in with the let's see, what are they're called?
the land use or something, the codes or something she was mentioning. I remember she was
Yeah,
mentioning.
well, it's the findings, but he's asking for waivers, that's what they call it. So he's asking for 12 waivers. And again, a lot of this project
I have to tell you,
is proceeding because of
if-
state laws.
Crystal,
Is that Janisha we can hear?
oh, sorry, you guys.
Um,
Kaden, turn it off and wash it.
okay, and Tanya, if you can
Thank you.
mute us. So Lou, did you have a comment before we screen share?
I have a question. Have you heard from the planning, not the planning deputy, but the field deputy for CDA?
Yeah, she was invited to the meeting tonight, but she had another commitment, so she could not make it. But we know from the city planner assigned to the case that the necessary documents have still not been submitted. So it's still on hold. It's considered on hold. Okay, let me. So we're looking at, and I'm gonna keep it, say that the genocide and people worldwide never ended. And here in the United States, the thing that happened where now against the West and people. Whatever you do to the Palestinian people. Okay, so this letter actually one thing that Perry Osborne, the planning deputy, asked is that our first version of the letter be addressed to the city planning department. So the heading will be changed to the planner that the case is assigned to. And then assuming it does go through all of the review by Department of City Planning and then is gonna be scheduled for the public hearing, which we assume will be by Zoom or virtual, then we can just change the heading back to City Planning Commission after that public hearing and before the City Planning Commission meeting. So this is regarding the 11516 South Vermont Avenue with the case numbers. So it'll be addressed to that city planner whose last name is Hurtado. So, and the vote won't be until probably October even. So it's the 111 unit apartment building with 18 affordable units. This letter also includes our recommendations to make it a better project with less impact on the single family homes, R1-1 zone to the north and east, which would be overlooked by this very tall building. So again, we start out with our major concerns. I'm wondering if we should list the 12 waivers that they're requesting, and then, I don't know, and then comment on each of those, somehow tie in this with those waivers. But at the moment, we are listing our concerns, which is the proposed granting of a density bonus of greater than 35%, although allowed under AB 1287, for a site that is located next to the westbound off-ramp of the 105 Century Freeway and on a narrow lot that would tower over the abutting residential neighborhood to the north and east, resulting in an adverse impact on those residents' quality of life, as well as creating an adverse quality of life for the new residents of the project. And maybe in that part, we should cite some of the, impacts of living within 500 feet of a freeway and the health impacts. Another one is the lack of adequate parking for so many units, because this is not a building intended for low-income people. Even though the applicant at our meeting made it sound like the rentals would be lower than market rate, and when you read the proposal, they're definitely mostly market rate. So the lack of adequate parking for so many units, 65 resident parking spaces and 20 guest parking spaces, which will inevitably result in parking of even more vehicles on nearby residential streets where there are already tensions over street parking. The location, yeah.
Excuse me, what you mentioned about the businesses, that's right, it's next to, because they would pack their parking too, because it's
Oh,
right.
yeah, that's a good point. Because there's barely parking in the back of the commercial building for those businesses as it is. Okay. Impact on business. Parking. Okay. That's a good point. The location so close to the 105 Century Freeway westbound off-ramp onto Vermont Avenue. We are the neighborhood council whose advocacy related to similar issues for a different proposed project close to the 91 Artesia Freeway and the 110 Harbor Freeway resulted in the 1,000-foot freeway adjacent advisory notice, ZI 2427 from September 17th, 2018 for residential buildings. We note how weak that notice is and how badly it needs to be updated and strengthened. All residential housing should be prohibited within 500 feet of any freeway. Another concern, the lack of outdoor space for the residents, especially for any children and pets. Another concern, the minimal amount of proposed trees and other landscaping to help offset the location next
Rosalie,
to the freeway. Yes.
you remember he was mentioning something about it's mostly gonna be adults he's looking at, more so the kids.
Well, but they can't discriminate against families.
I know, I know.
And some of the units are 2-bedroom, and even for 1-bedroom units, you know,
Mhm.
families do rent 1-bedroom.
Yeah, but is the space adequate? That's the thing about it.
Well, this is
But
the
then-
standard now in all these new proposals. Very small apartments. All the ones we've been reviewing lately in the last
But-
several years, yeah.
Yeah, you remember we mentioned about, he was talking about the upstairs deck or something and all that, and putting some up there. And it was a concern about, safety of kids being up on the roof of the deck.
Well, yeah, so we need to clarify
Yeah,
the lack
because
of outdoor space, it's at the ground level,
Mhm.
at ground level.
Yeah, maybe at ground.
Because there's gonna be 2 interior courtyards or open spaces, but they're not gonna it doesn't look like they're gonna have any kind of landscaping. And then there's the roof deck on the top,
Mhm.
which who knows what that will have. I have to look at the drawing, you know, often they do have planters with plants, and sometimes they even plant trees, but you know, that even creates issues with water leakage and from the irrigation, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
that's why we wish he would be at these meetings so we could really ask about,
Mhm.
you know, be clear on some of these details, but
Yeah, okay, I want to interrupt
okay,
you. No,
yeah.
sorry, okay.
Yeah, no, we need to be more clear about all that.
Mm.
Okay, the amount of proposed trees. So that's one of the waivers, and I think, so that needs to be specified. I think there's supposed to be something like 24 trees, and they're only proposing 6 right along Vermont Avenue at what he told us was going to be the entrance through the guest parking to the ground floor parking for residents. But on reading the application, actually, the entrance for I think even for the guests and the residents is through the alley coming off 115th Street. Now that alley traverses the parking lot of the, you know, that the businesses use. So that's going to be just a big problem right there. Plus, you know, it means those vehicles are using 115th Street, which is already, we were proposing be blocked off. So there's just so many issues with this project. So another concern, misinterpretation of many of the findings for the citywide design guidelines, which the applicant submitted. For example, under Guideline 1, Pedestrian First Design, the applicant has referred to the provision of 2 interior courtyards and a roof deck While this guideline is intended for the applicant to consider the impact of the project on design strategies that create human-scale spaces in response to how people actually engage with their surroundings by prioritizing active street frontages, clear paths of pedestrian travel, legible wayfinding, and enhanced connectivity. So when you look at the findings, which are tied to the citywide design guidelines, and I believe I did send out those citywide design guidelines. I think there's 8 guidelines for almost every one that the applicant responded to. They're just way off target. They're talking about something else and really not directly addressing the guidelines. So our recommendations for improvements are no waiver of the encroachment plane, because that's one of the big requests. And so that kind of that would angle the building, and that should be required from 20 feet in height, and the building should be kind of tapered or step back from existing or finished grade next to the R1-1 zone. Number 2, no waivers for the following standard setbacks, because they're asking for all those to be greatly reduced. Rear yard 15 feet down to 5 feet, side yard 9 feet to 5 feet, side yard, that's another side yard, I guess, 9 feet to 5 feet, alley side yard 9 feet to 1 foot. No reduction in the required open space. That's another one of the waivers, which per that type of development, it should be 12,050 square feet, and they're asking for only 4,529 square feet. And really the only open space is that rooftop deck. No reduction in long-term bicycle parking from 80 parking spaces, or short-term guest bicycle parking from 8 spaces utilizing bike racks on the walls of the parking garage, and or bike lockers or a designated bicycle parking room. Because if you don't have bicycle parking, residents are going to have bicycles, especially if they're going to try to rely on using the metro and not having a vehicle. And, you know, you often need a bicycle for when you get off the bus or the metro to get to your final point. And that would mean people would have to somehow find space in their little tiny apartment for their bike. Number 5, windows for the apartments on the north side of the building and east side should be placed high up on the walls, be narrow and rectangular in shape to help create privacy for those living below in the R1-1 zone. Um, 6, improved exterior design with more articulation and different types of exterior finishes such as stone, metal, and metal mesh, wood, as well as stucco, as well as architectural elements that reduce the perceived mass of this very large project.
Well, can you hold on for a minute, Mom? I'm gonna get your dinner out the oven for Salmon.
Okay, number 7, different exterior paint colors such as light golden beige with a lighter brown, shades of light green or light blue to help the building better blend into the surrounding neighborhood. White paint surfaces end up looking dirty, while the deep gray color will make the building appear more prominent in the landscape than necessary for the R1-1 residents. Number 8, substantial vegetation, meaning trees and shrubs along the freeway off-ramp side of the building, as well as the sound wall covered with vines. At least 28 trees should be required on the property. In contrast, the applicant, in addressing citywide design guideline 7, which says carefully arranged design elements and uses to protect site users, states that a block wall will be constructed. I have to clarify, it's the applicant that's stating that a block wall will be constructed along the southern property line to shield users closest to the freeway. The guidelines suggest utilizing landscaping and or berms to buffer occupants from nearby nuisances that emit noise and or pollutants. Reorientation of the building so that the building is placed very close to Vermont Avenue with the vehicle entrance right into the parking garage, so that the open space is situated on the east side of the building, ensuring privacy for more of the R1-1 residents. This would more closely align with citywide design guideline 4, locate and shape buildings to minimize disrupting users of neighboring buildings, and minimize shadows and unnecessary shading on surrounding buildings, parks, and open spaces. Because this building will, at that height, will really shade the primarily one-story residences, which might be helpful in lowering their heating costs or cooling costs. But if people want to put solar panels on their homes or buildings, the height of this building will impede that, or the ability to really, take advantage of solar panels. So somehow we have to put that in there. So our 10th recommendation, closure of access to the 700 block of West 115th Street from east of the alley using bollards or concrete barrier. And that's to discourage further traffic onto that block and parking of vehicles on that block. We also note that there are several contradictory statements from the applicant when comparing the application and what we were told at the May 6th Planning and Land Use meeting, including one, that the entrance to the project for vehicles would be from a driveway on the Vermont Avenue side of the property with a security gate, while in the findings part of the application, the applicant states that the project will incorporate the alley to the north coming down from 115th Street. And the site map also seems to show vehicle access from the alley. Number 2, that 100 bicycle parking spaces would be provided to encourage residents to use them for transportation rather than owning vehicles, while one of the waivers requested is to have 0 bicycle parking. We also wish to note that while the applicant representative came to the May 6th Planning and Land Use Committee meeting, no one from the company was present at subsequent meetings. So, any other comments? We'll incorporate these and try to rewrite to make it a little more coherent. Lou?
I have a lot of them.
Okay.
All right. You want to screen share again?
No, just tell me and I'm gonna, take some notes.
Yes, I'm going to tell you, but I'm also going to send a copy of this letter to the members of this committee so
Okay,
that they will see my suggestions and that we can work on this together further along.
okay.
Okay, so beginning on page 1 of this letter, you already said that it should be addressed to the Department of City Planning, so all of that's going to be taken care of. The first paragraph of the letter, the last 2 lines of the first paragraph. The second to the last line begins with recommendations. A period should appear after the word recommendation, and everything after that on that line and the following line should be deleted. The next line says, our major concerns. It should begin with, among our major concerns are the following. The first bullet item on line 4 at the end of the line, strike the word resulting and insert the word results. The next bullet item.
Wait, trying to find them.
That's why I want to
Okay, resulting, what are you saying instead of resulting?
strike resulting.
Oh, result. Okay,
Why I want everybody to see what I'm doing for themselves. The next bullet item, strike the word the and begin the sentence with the word lack. It should read as follows. Lack of adequate parking for, strike the word so many and insert 111.
Is there a way to reshare the document so we can see in real time as she's talking about the corrections?
I requested that.
Could you put it up, Rosalie? So we can see it.
okay, I'm not gonna make them on the,
No, I'm not asking you to make it. I just want to have like a point of reference so we're looking at what she's talking about, not have you make the corrections in real
Okay.
time.
okay. Okay, continue on.
Okay, I'm on the last bullet item on page 4. On page 1. It should begin with, strike the word the, and it begins, location, strike the word so.
Wait, where are you?
The last bullet item on page 1 of the letter.
Okay, the location, right.
So, strike the word the. Begin the sentence with location, strike the word so, and it reads as follows. Location is close to the 105 Century Freeway, da 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 da. Page 2.
I think it should say the project site.
We have a lot of time to work on this. These are my suggestions. Other people are gonna have other suggestions before we really finalize this letter. So this is what I suggest, and this is my suggestion. But it's noted what you said, okay? So page 2, at the top of the page, at the end of that first paragraph where it says freeway, I am requesting that at that point is inserted the Cal Enviro Screen language from chapter 3, page 40 of the community plan update. I think it's important that it goes right there because the rest of those bullet items refer to environmental justice.
This is not in the Harbor Gateway Community Plan.
Oh, that's right, it's in CD8.
It's in South LA Community Plan.
South LA Community Plan.
However, we could look up what the Cal Enviro screen is for that site.
I would think that they are a part of the South Los Angeles area where that's affected by these stats. I do suggest that we look it up to find out if they are indeed, if that particular location is indeed covered by Cal Enviro. And I believe we will find that it probably is.
Well, the whole state's covered by it, but yeah, we should find out what their rating is, and then there's that particular area that that state law covers, and which part of Harbor Gateway North is under the South LA, which I can't remember, but we'll look into that too.
At that point, I think we should insert the Cal Enviro screen language as
Right, okay.
at this point. The first bullet item, strike the word the, begin the sentence with the word lack. The second bullet item, strike the word the, begin it with the word minimal. The last bullet item should start, the sentence should start with the word a. It's a misinterpretation. Okay. The next item, at the end of that paragraph, at the end of that bullet item, where it says our recommendations for improvements should read thusly. Our recommendations, our recommendation, denial of application for the above reasons and for requesting the following should go at that point.
Well, okay, just want to remind you,
These are my suggestions.
I just want to remind you that the planning deputy for Council District 8, who has worked in the planning department, pointed out that the first 4 waivers, the Department of City Planning will recommend to approve because of state law. It's the other 8 that they possibly can deny. So it's pointless for us as the neighborhood council to recommend just denial of the project. We need to focus on those 8 waivers that we have some possibility of influencing.
I disagree with you. We can recommend denial for all of the reasons that we're saying that are adverse to our stakeholders. Whether or not the hearing officer or the Department of City Planning accepts our recommendation is irrelevant. But we do not have to go along and agree with it as if we are agreeing with this stuff. We are not agreeing with it, and these are not our recommendation. That is not our recommendation. If you say which items 1, 2, 3, and 4, we have no say in those at all, or just 1 and 2.
No, this letter doesn't comment on the first 4 waivers. The
Okay.
waivers we're referring to are all the 8 different waivers, so.
My question to you, Rosalie, is so that I don't go any further with this particular thing, is that, are you saying that that item 1, item 2, we have no say in that?
No, we do. These are the ones we have a say in.
Okay, so we are asking for denial because he is asking for these waivers. But we don't agree with that.
We can ask for
Yes, that's what I'm,
non-approval of the 8 waivers because of the impact to our stakeholders.
I don't know.
Not denial of the project, denial of waivers, requested waivers 5 through 12.
Okay, let me say this. I am not in agreement with you on this. However, I would like, what we're disagreeing on about these particular waivers here is tabled so that the rest of the committee members can also read it and research it for themselves, so that when we come back, we will have a discussion on it that's better informed. That's
Okay, so is there anything else? So
there is. I am not finished. I am just trying not to. Okay, my next recommendation is okay. Item 3. To begin with, the way I am asking for it, you're saying that the sentence should not begin, our recommendation is denial, but some other language that points out that he is asking for a reduction. We're not just saying no, but we're pointing out what he's asking for, which goes against everything, even the law. That's all I'm saying. So we're saying that we're not accepting this, and we don't want a reduction in the open space from 12,000 feet to 4,000. That is egregious. 4,000, and it should be 12,000? We need to discuss this further. And
right, it says no reduction.
the language, I object to the way it's worded. And
okay, well, a lot of this letter needs to be reworded to
I thought I made myself clear, is that I was bringing forth, excuse me, that I was bringing forth.
Do we just want to table until everybody, we get more information? Because ever since they have not turned in the application, everything is so, we can, because right now we just based off what we already have, and this might be more findings and things like that, or they might submit something different. And so we might have to revise again later.
But Arby, the thing about it is this guy is procrastinating. Just because he's procrastinating, we shouldn't.
Right. Yeah. And so so I hear, both sides of the point, but let's focus on in getting the letter completed. Thank you.
Letter completed until this man submits his documents, which he has not done.
Yeah. So he probably do it between now and then. So yeah.
So
we
what,
just be ready.
okay, so one of the stakeholders, Tanya, wants to comment.
will I be able to finish what I'm doing after she finishes?
Let's see, the time is moving on. So Tanya, did you have any comment?
Yes, I am in agreement with Lou 100%. I want to thank you because that is just the way I'm feeling, and that is the way all the residents are feeling. I am and agree with her 100%. It should be a total denial. I mean, to sit there and want to put something that humongous and ask for that little, I am agreeing with everything she is saying, and not to, anything against Rosalie is amazing. Everybody's amazing, but I am so in agreement with Lou.
Okay, so Lou, did you want to continue or just send in your suggestions and we can, at our next meeting, we'll have another further discussion? Because there's a lot that this letter needs to be really reworked to incorporate.
Correct.
The thing is that some of the first part, it needs to be more comprehensively worded. We've got a lot of repetition. And I think we probably should just start out with the denial of the requested waivers and then tie in some of the language from above into that, so. But if you want to send the rest of your suggestions, so that some of the points can be reworded.
That's what I was attempting to do here. However, I want all the committee members to get a copy of this, my suggestions.
Yeah, they will.
I want their email addresses.
Okay, we have to talk about that offline, so.
Are they online at the committee, on the website as the committee members? Are committee members' email addresses on the HGN?
They're on the city's
Okay.
website for our neighborhood count. They're supposed to be.
Okay, so, committee members, I will be sending you a copy of my proposed, draft or my insertions or whatever for you to look at. And so it's okay with me if this is tabled and comes up another time when we have more time, when all of us have really gone and looked at this so that we know what we're talking about. I agree with that.
And remember, as the planning deputy for Councilmember Harris Dawson stressed, look at the findings which are related to the citywide design guidelines, and also there was that other document that I sent, so.
Okay, at this point in time, can I make a request that this item is placed back on the next plume agenda?
Right. We're gonna table the discussion.
Can I say one thing, Rosalie?
Yeah,
I emailed some revisions that I won't go into, some
Okay.
recommendations that I won't go too deeply into. The one thing I will say though is that based on what I'm reading, the waivers, the setback waivers, the open space waivers, and the bicycle waivers can only legally be approved by the city, according to what I'm reading, if the applicant shows a legal analysis that says without precluding those waivers, they won't be able to meet their density bonus requirements. But that doesn't exist, and it doesn't seem like that's actually true given how they're building it. So that seems like a pretty solid legal grounding to deny those waivers because they're not discretionary. They do require a legal backing from the applicant. I sent you some stuff
Okay,
to
okay.
consider for that.
Okay, great. Yeah, those are the kind of things we need to tie into our various points in the letter on those key issues.
Yes, I wanted to say the same thing. Thank you, David, for bringing that up. I just wanted to remind everyone that we have the better chance of getting getting them to favor on our side when we address those specific issues that are, part of those plans, like instead of just being like, we don't want it, so Lou, thank you for the effort in putting your suggestions. Rosalie, if you could, if anybody is opposed, you can say so, but if you could just forward it to all of us so we can take a look at Lou's changes and Dave's, suggestions. And then when we come back, we can talk about it.
Right.
Maybe in a more, everything a little bit more cohesive, and we can make a move after that.
Okay, Lou, a last comment before we move on.
Yes, thank you, Janisha. Okay, I just want to point out one of the paragraphs that's already in our letter on page 3. The next paragraph or items after number 10 and the language in it, to just see why I'm concerned and what I'm trying to do here. Okay, on page 3, Rosalie, for those that don't have a hard copy before them, perhaps you can read it, Rosalie, for us. And that's and I just have a small comment, but I just would like that read for our group.
About the contradictory statements?
Yes. Okay, right. Just let me say something. You've already noticed, you said this, it reads this way. We also note that there are several contradictory statements from the applicant when comparing the application and what we were told at the May 6th PLU meeting. It really should state this. We note that there are many, he is just not being truthful throughout in a lot of ways, perhaps in hopes that we won't notice, but it's not several, it's many. And you already stated that you compared the application with what was said by the representative on the record. So already we know that we're not dealing with someone that we can just take at face value. We're really going to have to research this and make sure that we're on solid ground and that we don't say that. I think we have grounds to ask that it is denied for all of the reasons before, because he's disrespected us for not coming. He's disrespected us and the council office for not getting his documents in on time. And they have not been truthful with what's said, what's written in the application, and what's said on the record. So therefore, there is no way that we should be thinking about approving this and not recommending a denial for those basic reasons, for he has not been truthful. And that's all I have to say, and I'm not going to say anymore. Thank you for listening.
Okay, we're gonna table further discussion of this comment letter and move on to brief reports on other planning and land use issues. So 7A, the Prologis Warehouse Vermont Redondo project. 2 appeals have been filed of the City Planning Commission's approval of the final EIR and their letter of determination that was issued. So there will be a hearing of those appeals and consideration by the City Council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee later in August or September. B, the update on the oil well issues. There is still continuing unexplained water that appears near a curb on 129th Street in front of the home that has the most seeming impact from that drilling that we believe comes from the Garner J1 well up on 126th Street. C, the reopening of the Arco gas station at 854 West El Segundo Boulevard. The owners finally got LADWP to approve the new electrical. that had to be replaced after a lot of the wiring was stolen. But they've been having trouble getting final approvals on the remodeling of the car wash and some other issues by building and safety inspectors. The owner commented that they're always sending different inspectors, and then every time they come, then they say, oh, now this has to be fixed. So, but I did notice last night when I was driving home down Vermont Avenue that all the lights are on at the station. So it does help to keep that corner well lit. Then on the ED1 projects, the 1134 East 120th Street at Central Avenue, still no progress with that one. The older buildings were demolished and it was fenced. The one at 11840 South Central Avenue, those buildings were demolished some time ago, and I'm going to report that because now they've just let the weeds grow on the vacant lot. There doesn't seem to be any progress with that. On the solar impact projects that
Rosalie, is one 1840 and ED1 as well?
I believe it is. I think that's the one that actually showed up on the early notification. That was probably the first and only one that came on the early notification, and that's how we knew about it. And that was about 2 years ago. It would have around 40 units and about 4 stories. It would have a small amount of parking, but maybe only 8 spaces. On E, the solar impact projects at 1110 West Imperial Highway and 248 West Imperial Highway. Again, I haven't been able to get in touch with Solar Impact. They actually withdrew the one at 110th Street, 110 West Imperial Highway, and that lot needs to be reported. The fence covering is all torn, there's all weeds, and so I don't know what their plan is now. F, the Harbor Gateway Community Plan update, it's going before the Plum Committee in August or September. It has a council file, so people can submit comment to that file. And when it is scheduled for the Plum Committee, we'd like a number of our stakeholders to go down. It will be held at 2:30 or 2:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. So it's easier to get to that meeting than the City Planning Commission one, which is held early in the morning. And other planning and land use issues, does anyone know of anything else? So, yes, Dave.
I was gonna say the lot across the street from the school from ECMS Gardena, the 809 West 165th Place, remains undeveloped, and it was purchased at the end of 2019. For transparency's sake, the school tried to offer to purchase it in 2021 and entered negotiations, but we never came to a price that we agreed on. Regardless, it remains undeveloped and there's no approved plans. The lot has graffiti, overgrown vegetation, and attracts day drinking.
Okay, so you can report to building and safety and that,
Yeah,
you know.
we're in a
the law-
cycle of that. It gets reported and then it gets cleaned up. and then it happens again, and then it
The
gets
weeds,
yeah,
though, they
yeah,
clear.
yeah. They come back and they clear it, but then it grows back, and the graffiti, same thing.
Okay. So Lou, did you have another issue?
No, this is an announcement that was made at Plan Check. Okay, to the new committee members, I just would encourage you to start attending the Plan Check Neighborhood Council meetings that happen on the second Saturday of every month. I mean, it's a network of representatives and stakeholders and officers and planning and land use committee people from all over the city, and especially the neighborhood council people. One of the good things that was announced at the meeting this month was that they are going to take the ministerial assignment away from building and safety. They're going to have another unit in the Department of City Planning, where the city planning is going to take care of that. They finally came to their senses or whatever, that building and safety, those are really, their purview is inspections, not planning issues. They don't know land use like planners do. So they're going to take that assignment away from them, and they're going to have a new unit, which is a good thing, because one of the problems that we've had is that they have these ministerial approvals with these people at building and safety, and they approve all kinds of stuff. That's one of the reasons we've had a lot of problems that we've had with land use. So I just thought I would say that. I don't know if anyone else was at the Plan Check meeting this month or not. They're virtual, so they're on Saturday and at 10, from 10 to noon. And it's just wonderful. It's a network, and these people that attend Plan Check, they know what they're talking about. A lot of them have credentials, and they definitely have expertise with land use issues, because they are really involved in what happens in their neighborhood council areas. So they keep up on it. And then we have guest speakers. Somebody from Department of City Planning is always on the agenda. And then some of the stakeholders have assignments, and they keep members abreast of all of this, not all of them, relevant state laws that are coming down, and ordinances and things that are before the city council. So Rosalie blast that link, and she blast notice of the Plan Check meeting. So if possible, I just would encourage everyone that's on our committee, if you can, now and then on the second Saturday of the month, start attending the Plan Check meetings. Just do it one time to just see what goes on. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, they are very helpful meetings, and you don't need to attend all of them, but a few throughout the year, because you do learn a lot and hear what's going on around the city. We're not the only ones facing these issues, a lot of which have been brought to us because of state laws that were passed that take away the ability of the city to create their own regulations regarding land use. And one other thing is that there's a requirement that the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment created a couple years ago, that all Planning and Land Use Committee members need to take a Planning 101 course. It's an hour. There's a video. I'm trying to get the Department of City Planning to provide the actual link. I did look on the Department of City Planning website. They have a number of YouTube videos. But a lot of them say Planning 101. So one of them, I think, is the correct one. But then if you view it, I'm not sure how you get the proof that you viewed it. So you get the credit, and therefore they'll, on our Empower LA website, the planning committee members' names are listed. And then when you've taken the training, they put a check mark next to your name. So anyway, that's something we have to work out.
Rosalie, do you know if those of us that are returning crew members have to retake?
No, as I recall, they told us once you've taken it, that's it. So,
Thank you.
okay, well, thank you everyone for attending. Oh, so we need to set the next meeting. At one time we were meeting on the 4th Thursday of the month. That didn't work for a previous committee member, but does that work for everyone else who's on the committee now? Then we had gone to the first Tuesday of the month, and the first Tuesday of August didn't work because it's National Night Out. Although that's earlier in the day, but so does the 4th Thursday of August work for everyone? Say no if you're not able to make the 4th Thursday. Okay, so it'll be the 4th Thursday at 7 o'clock. Okay, thank you everyone for attending. Good night.